when you are good at something, you always expect the other person to also be at like a minimum level at least. And maybe the person has never tried that thing. And so, let me explain this with an example again today. So, just this morning, my roommate was coming back from the gym. He gave me a call, told me to boil some eggs for him. Super simple task for most of the people in the world, and even for me, it was at a point in time. But then, turns out I have not done it in a couple of years. And when I did go to boil the eggs, he said two. I thought, why not boil some for me, and did four. Waited for 6 minutes. The egg started bouncing. If anybody knows how to boil eggs, you'll probably relate to this. The egg started bouncing a bit, and the water was overflowing. So I thought it's done, right? Took out my two eggs. My friend was still back from the gym, so cracked the egg. The yolk was still liquid, like full liquid, and it didn't boil. Naturally, it's not meant to be boiled in 6 minutes. I still haven't done my research on eggs. And so, yeah, threw that egg, put the third egg back in, and boiled it for like the next 10 more minutes. I don't know what I did wrong. It was still not boiled. And when I took out my other egg, the same thing took place. It was still very liquidy, if that's the right way to put egg. It was runny, it was super runny. And so the thing is, I know I everybody probably expects me to know how to boil an egg. It's the easiest of the thing to do if you're a cook. But I hadn't done it in like at least 5 years. And the thing is, I didn't know how to, and it was my first time. And so it would be pretty reasonable for me, now that I'm explaining it to you like this, to actually suck at it and not know how to boil an egg. And obviously, my friend didn't say anything about it. He was super kind. He didn't even care actually. But this was just because I gave you the example of an egg. I found myself doing this too. So, the people working in my team, if I know to do something, if I know to work hard, if I know to show up at a place on time, I honestly expect this from them. And the thing is, after today's egg incident, I kind of felt like it was super unreasonable for me to expect this from them, because, as you know, even working hard or like showing up, I haven't mastered it, but it's still a habit to practice, because getting out of bed itself is super difficult, and if it's winter, it's worse. So I have gotten to a certain level. I'm able to do it every day without fail. But I somehow pretty unreasonably expected this. And now that I'm aware of this, I've started seeing this happening more and more. So, take for anything for example, and when you make somebody do a cold call. So this is related to business. Cold calling is calling strangers directly. So when you hear about cold calls and you pick up the phone, you start dialing, and the first one itself, it's pretty shocking that people downplay you for that. So if the friends around you, even the people around you, maybe in your school, college, the workplace that you're doing this, any activity that you try for the first time. So, and they're gonna laugh at you. But the thing is, a veteran wouldn't laugh at you because he knows you are meant to suck. And when I saw this in my team itself, I saw the people who were condescending hadn't done enough of repetitions. But the person who was actually kind was leading the team. He'd done more than 1,000 repetitions, and he knew that you're meant to be bad. It takes repetitions to get good. And The condescending people thought they were pretty good at stuff, and they were better than the guy who was trying for the first time. I might I was a bystander, but maybe I would have done the same thing. And so it is so easy to judge, but when you actually go and do the action, you realize that, okay, damn, maybe it wasn't, you can't get it in your first rep, or maybe you can't even get it in your first 100 for cold calls. You won't even get it at 1,000, I think so. It's like, it's a mindset for cold calls, and you get it after like maybe 2.5, some huge number. And understanding cold calls is super difficult. And let's get back on the topic. So it takes incredibly long to actually get good at stuff, and we often judge people for not being good at things, but it's pretty reasonable for them to be bad at it, because they are trying for the first time, first 100 times, first 1,000 times, and there is a huge gap between the number of repetitions they need to do. And as an individual, I really hope that you understand it, that you are meant to be bad at things. We'll get to this later, but as somebody who is around people always, as a human being, because you're always going to meet people, you're always going to come across these kind of situations where you find people being bad at things. I pray, I beg of you, be very kind, because as a society we need to encourage repetitions and encourage failure, because it takes that many reps to get good at things, and so your first reps are going to be bad. And so if you see anybody around you trying to take actions such as these, trying stuff for the first time, please don't make fun of them. And maybe if they laugh it off with you, you'll think that, okay, this guy is having fun with me, he doesn't take it that seriously what I say. And maybe they don't, but personally, I laugh at jokes on me like all the time, and sometimes they do hurt. You'll never show it in person. I never showed it in person. I just laugh at the jokes with the people making the jokes, and then later, going away in the evening, it hits me, or maybe when I'm away from people. But still, uh, I might be crying in an elevator, but then when I leave the building, I'd still smile and say goodbye to the guard. And so you need to know, it's pretty difficult trying new things as itself, but when the social pressure also comes on, it becomes twice as hard. And be kind to people. And jumping on to the second part, where I said you are meant to suck. If you yourself are trying something new, I am trying a lot of new things. This obviously not that new, speaking to a camera, because I'm doing it. But then 6 months ago I started speaking to a camera. But this format, brand new for me, and I know I'm meant to suck. When I started cold calls, if I'm being really honest with you, on top of the notebook where I wrote all the numbers and put all my notes in, I had "You are meant to suck" with an exclamation mark on top of it, and I've shared this with a community of strangers. We'll get to that someday, but that is how it's meant to be. And when you don't think about it often, you'll judge people. But we are talking about as individuals when you are trying new things right now. And so if you know the principle that being bad at things when you're initially starting out is the way, it's the path, it's how it's meant to be, only then will you get to a point where you don't care about the failure, and you just gonna do it until you're actually good at it, and probably until you're bored of doing it. And even after that, that's what I've heard from great individuals, and after reading them, that's when after you're bored you'll get the amazing results. So you don't want to kill the idea or your motivation towards doing things. And that discipline, when built for one action, probably carries on for the next action, because you know how to build a discipline in one category. You also learn that if I knew how to do cold calls, I could learn how to wake up consistently. So the consistently part could be mimicked. It would still be super difficult, but it is possible. And so once or twice you need to consciously see yourself trying a new activity as a third person, or from the point of view of a third person, and see that you were bad at this first. Take any activity, boiling an egg, if you're good at it, you were bad at it first, your first egg didn't come out amazing. If you had no help, if you had help, probably came out great, but you needed that help. You needed a mentor. Mentors obviously help a lot, but you were bad at that first. If you just came out of a if you're in nursery or something, maybe the first classes of your life, and you went to a stove, you couldn't turn it on the first time, and it was obviously difficult. Or if you could do it the first time, maybe you tried it out too late. That's another thing. So understand that looking at it consciously, as you are meant to be bad at things for the first time, it's unreasonable for you to be good, and you will get good over time after like a huge number of reps. And we always underestimate the reps. I do it too. I don't know if you guys do it, but yeah, so you're probably gonna underestimate the reps, and so you'll be bad for way longer than you actually initially imagined, and it'll suck, but we never really remember the hard times, do we? We enjoy them later on, so it should be fun. And so this dialogue right here, or monologue, it was meant to tell you that please don't be judgmental, be kind. Actually, in fact, encourage new action takers, encourage people stepping out of their comfort zone. If you see people like that around you, please, if you've consciously noticed, help them out. Be the light in the dark world. And the second thing, you also probably need a light, but if you don't get it, no problem. Maybe you'll get it later on. Maybe God's given the hardest battle to his strongest soldier. So with that, I'll leave you and keep trying new things.